Dale.
All right.
Are you available? Are you seeing your smiling face?
I know, what an ugly picture, right?
No.
All right. So real quick introduction. Who am I? My name's Dale Comstock. I have a doctorate in alternative medicine, natural health, and I have a master's degree in business and organizational security management with a bachelor's degree in education. I'm actually calling you right now from Bali, Indonesia, from my office. I live in Bali. I have a company here, a security company. I'm married to my wife here. She's Indonesian. We have a home here, and I also have a home in Panama City Beach, Florida, so I actually travel back and forth. As noted earlier, I had spent 20 years in the U.S. Army as a Green Beret, a Delta Force operator, an airborne infantryman, and a long-range scout. After I retired, I started a security company and then concurrently worked for the CIA for 9.5 years. And then when I resigned from that, I ended up in Hollywood. I was on Stars and Stripes with Terry Crews. I was on Discovery Channel, One Man Army, and quite a few other television shows and movies. One thing led to another. I ended up selling another company and then ended up in Hong Kong 6 years ago, where I worked as a security. Basically, I ran a protective detail for a multi-billionaire investment banker, and that brought me to Indonesia. And here I am today, talking to you guys from on the other side of the world, except for Matt. So thanks again for having me on this webinar. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity, and I would like to share some experiences with you. And I would actually like to start with what Jessica mentioned earlier, which was a story about this amethyst stone here, crystal, right? So I'm also a performance coach. I have a performance coaching company, and I talk quite a bit about energy, whether it's in the form of crystals or whether it's essential oils or just the frequencies that we basically operate on in the metaphysical world. So I'm very into that kind of stuff. And yesterday, in fact, I met a fellow here in Bali, a Balinese guy. He actually spent some time in Los Angeles, and a very unassuming guy. You would never know that he was very wealthy, and just by looking at his exterior. And but I went to his home on an invitation, talked to him, got to have a discussion about alternative medicine and about the things that I actually like, which is autogenic conditioning and mindset and performance coaching. And I found that this guy was very knowledgeable, very intelligent. And later on, we walked around, and he actually has a manufacturing company. He manufactures a lot of different things. And we went into one room, and he had quite an array of crystals and of various types. And he proceeded to tell me how, certain crystals, certain rocks absorb negative frequencies. Others have healing frequencies and qualities to them, and which I fully understood. And then he brought out a large wooden crate, a big one, and it was full. It had about 1,000 of these amethyst crystal shards in it, about 1,000, all about this size. If you guys can see that. And so he said, I want you and your wife to just dig down in there and grab one of the crystals each, as a gift. Just take one out of there, right? So I dug deep in the box and rummaged around a little bit, and I pulled this little gem out, right? And I'm looking at it, and then my wife, she starts digging around in there. She digs deep, and she pulls one out, and then we do a side-by-side comparison. And when I started noticing something, I was like, wait a minute. And I started playing around with it and realized that both of these rocks, these crystals, were actually of the same stone. They were two halves of the same stone. In fact, I'm going to share with you a picture of the shards. Let me see if I can find. Here they are, right there. So if you can see that, can everybody see that? So you'll see this is the one that I held up where my cursor's at right now. This was my wife's. I matched the two up. This is the bottom, and then when I roll the stone over, this was the top of it. So it's a perfect match. And I just thought it was just simply amazing that, that what's the chances of my wife and I both grabbing two halves of one crystal rock out of a box of 1,000, and they weren't laying on the top. He actually told us dig deep, and so we get the best one. So we did. And okay, I lost my picture here. Stand by. Get oriented here. Where am I? Okay, here we are.
It's all good. Just go back to screen share when you can, Dale.
Can you
I
see me
love
okay?
this story. I'm like all just ooey gooey just hearing it. It's like
But you can see me now, right?
we can still see you, but we can't see your screen yet. So
You didn't see the rocks? Okay.
we
I don't
saw
know.
the rocks, but you need to go back at the bottom and do your share screen again, please.
Do my share screen.
Got it? There you go. Thank you.
I got a weird, okay. All right, let me get oriented here. Come on, where are we at? Sorry, I'm not, you are screen sharing. I don't want to screen share anymore, right? Stop screen share. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, I don't see the PowerPoint though.
Go back if you close out all your. There you go.
I got it. Okay. All right. Anyway, so I thought that was very interesting. And when we pulled the rocks out, we mashed them up. I remember the guy looked at me and he wasn't even surprised. He's like, you know what? He goes, I don't believe in coincidence. He goes, that happened for a reason. He goes, I noticed that you and your wife are very, a very good couple. You're very strong and very compatible. And it didn't surprise him one bit. And actually, I was a little surprised that we found those stones, but I was not surprised in the idea that, these rocks have energy and that my wife and I have an energy that's compatible. So anyways, it really made my day. And I just thought it was amazing. And so I've been carrying this rock around in my pocket every day since then, every hour. And so has my wife. And I feel like I'll never part with this thing. As long as I have this rock in my pocket, I'll always be connected to my wife around the world. So, and I do travel a lot. All right. So moving on. All right. As I mentioned a minute ago, I spent 20 years in the Army. I was also a professional boxer. I was an MMA fighter. I hold 2 6th-degree black belts. I hold a 1st-degree black belt. I made a living out of fighting since I was a kid. Since I was a runt on the playground in school, and learn how to fight or just get beat up a lot. So, and with that said, I've actually had a lot of head injuries, quite a few, in fact, not just from getting punched in the head quite a bit, but from blast overpressure, IEDs, getting hit in the head, falls. And I've fallen off bicycles and motorcycles. I can go on all day long. I've had a lot of head injuries, and I think I'm pretty normal. Even though sometimes my exes said I'm crazy, I think I'm okay. But anyways, I'm also a big proponent for natural, using natural medicine to heal the body, right? So I heard a lot of discussion about some of these other opioids and things like that used excessively. And I'm in agreement. Taking drugs is like swallowing a hand grenade. It might address an issue that you're trying to take care of, but there's always going to be a collateral effect, right? Collateral damage. It may not be immediate, but somewhere down the road, you're going to pay the price for taking those drugs. In fact, as a performance coach, I have quite a few clients that come to me, and actually the average demographic is between 45 and 55, and they all come to me with a dump truck full of issues, and usually they're on a lot of medications, they're overweight, they've got diabetes, they've got all kinds of issues with the skeletal system, and it's unending, and most of it is related to what I would call modern nutritional diseases. It's what they consume, it's what they put in their body that's helping to destroy it. It's also the fact that most people live a sedentary life, and they think that going to work every day is actually physical fitness, and it's not. And so, it's the lack of fitness. The Western diet has a profound effect on the body, and when the body is affected negatively, the mind is affected negatively, and when the mind is affected negatively, and the body is affected negatively, then your ether, is affected negatively. And when I talk about the ether, I'm actually talking about the energy that we have. And we do produce energy. We are like a walking, talking battery. And we produce our own energy. It's what allows us to think. It's what allows us to move. And it's also this energy that we emit that allows us to create our future. And so I can go way down the road on this one, but I'll try to just kind of stick to what I think is relevant to this particular topic. So I've told you about who I am. My focus really is on health, because without a healthy body, nothing else is going to work optimally. My mind's not going to work optimally. I'm not going to have the optimal levels of energy, and basically I'm just a walking train wreck waiting for waiting to go to hospital, waiting for drugs, or maybe, an early death. Fitness has been a part of my life since I can remember. I've always played sports when I was a teenager. That carried me over into the military world. As I mentioned in the previous segment on the panel, I consider myself, and as do most of the guys in my profession, whether they were Green Berets or Delta Force operators or SEALs, we consider ourselves tactical athletes. Believe it or not, in the Delta Force when I was there, we actually had world-class athletes. In fact, our doctor at the time was a world-class triathlete. There were many professional athletes that were in different areas. I was a professional boxer, and so one could ask, well, what came first? The cart or the horse? Did Delta make me a professional athlete, or was my professional athleticism allowed me to be a Delta operator? And I would say they both went hand in hand, because I was always an athlete growing up, and it was super important to my health. Today I'm 57 years old, and I can tell you I'm in the best shape of my life. I go to the gym about 1 hour a day, maybe 4 times a week, along with my wife, and I'm probably in the best shape of my life, no doubt about it. As good or better than when I was a Delta operator. The only difference is I don't run as fast as I used to, because I choose not to. And that's where the mindset comes in. If I wanted to, I could, but I focus more on my strength and my size, partly because of my status as a public figure and some of the stuff that I do. Image is very important. So I try to maintain a certain fitness, for my job and my profession. But nonetheless, I'm in the best shape of my life. I've had a lot of medical issues, but not related to poor diet or anything like that. I suffered a serious broken back in a helicopter crash. I've had fragmentation wounds. I've had blast over pressure. I've had strokes. I've had multiple broken bones. So I've had quite a few injuries. And I can tell you that today, at the age of 57, I'm 100%. Nothing bothers me. Nothing slows me down. I don't limp. I don't do anything. And why is that? That's because I feed my body properly. However, I'm going to not lie to you and tell you that I don't cheat. I cheat all the time. In fact, I'm cheating right now because I'm drinking wine. So, and I do splurge, but you know what? What's the point in living life if you're not going to enjoy it, right? So, but everything in moderation. But I do focus on my diet, and I do focus on putting supplements in my body. I put a lot of supplements in my body every day because, as most of us know, the body is designed to heal itself. If you put the right foods in it and you exercise, the body is designed to move. Okay, so I do exercise quite a bit, and I do put the right foods in it. And here I am today, 57 years old, killing it, right? And then mindset. Next slide. I think we're on a different slide here. I'm not sure I'm in charge of that. There you go. Okay. As you note on the side here, it says mind, body, and ether, right? A lot of people talk about the mind, body, spirit. I think the spirit and the ether are the same thing. It's all energy. And I'm a big fan of the metaphysical world. I'm a big follower of Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla. These guys were on it when they said that, everything in the world, including success, is based on physics. It's all about energy and not about philosophy. And I concur 100%. Next slide, please. Cool. Everything is energy. As I mentioned earlier, we are walking, talking generators. We create our own energy. We're not plugged into a wall. We don't put battery packs in. But somehow we have the chemistry that allows us to produce energy, to move, to think, etc. That energy also allows us to project outward and create our reality, to live a life fulfilled. It allows us to essentially create a future for ourselves if we want it, if we can imagine, if we can dream it and embrace it in the here and now. All we have to do is manage those frequencies. Now, those frequencies in our body, they're generated from within. If your body's not healthy, if you're out of shape, you're not eating properly, you're on a lot of medication, it's going to alter your energy. When we talk about Ayurvedic medicine, we talk about chakras. Okay, there are energy points throughout the body. We talk about the lines and meridian. Even in Chinese medicine, they talk about the qi. Right? It's all about energy. It's within. And when those energy fields, those lines of meridian, when they're interrupted or they're not working at optimal levels, then our body's not going to work to optimal levels. Our mind's not going to work at optimal levels, and we're not going to perform at optimal levels. Now, it's more than just thinking. It's about taking care of the body, right? And again, we live in a world since the industrial revolution where we are inundating our body with, all types of xenotoxins. We're, modern nutritional disease. We suffer more cancer now than we've ever in history beyond the 1900s. Heart attacks before the 1900s were rarely ever heard of. I mean, the only time people had a heart attack is if it was something congenital. But we didn't have heart disease related to diet. We didn't have type 2 diabetes. There's a lot of things today that people suffer from that we didn't have before the Industrial Revolution. So my point is that we are literally a sponge just soaking up all this bad stuff in our body, and it's working overtime to try to purge it out, and it just can't do it fast enough. 1 in 4 people will come down with cancer. Why? Because the immune system just cannot keep up with the toxic load that's on the body constantly. We're constantly, infusing our body with this crap, not even intentionally. Sometimes it's unintentionally. Emissions from vehicles, the pollution in the air, aerosols, all those things have a profound effect on our body on the inside. And the only way we can counter that, unless we can move to another planet, is to try to bolster our immune system and insulate ourselves from all this stuff as much as we can naturally. Of course, cannabis, these natural herbs, these natural substances, vitamins and minerals are going to help us do that. Plus, exercise. I can't stress that enough. Too many people discount exercise as something they do if there's time after work, maybe. And what I tell people, it's got to be a lifestyle. It has to be an essential part of your day, just like eating and drinking and breathing. And why is that? Because the body has 2 circulatory systems. One is the cardiovascular system with the heart, and the other one is the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system doesn't have a heart. It becomes a reservoir for toxins. And the only way we can push those toxins out of our body is through what? Is through exercise, massaging the lymphatic system. And if you're not doing that, you're just storing more and more and more and more toxins in your body. And all this has a domino effect on everything else. Heart disease, and there's a lot of people that might disagree with me on this, but it's becoming more and more more an accepted idea that, for example, cholesterol. Everybody talks about how cholesterol is bad for, the heart, and people are dying from heart disease because they have too much cholesterol, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of evidence out there that's now pointing to homocysteine being the culprit for heart disease and not the cholesterol itself. Homocysteine is actually a byproduct from things like red meat, over exercise, et cetera, et cetera. It scars the inside of the blood vessels, to put it in layman's terms, and it causes cholesterol to bind up and clog inside the arteries, causing congestive heart failure. And what is the antidote to that, or the antioxidant for that? Folic acid. 200 micrograms of folic acid will alleviate all that. In fact, I think it was Jim Fix, the marathon runner, died at the age of 55 from a massive heart attack. And everybody was scratching their head and like, how is that possible? This guy runs like a gazelle and eats like a rabbit. How could he die from that? Because the exercise was creating such high levels of homocysteine scarring his blood vessels that caused the cholesterol to clog up. So, natural substances, whether it's, vitamins and herbs and minerals, will go a long way as natural medicine to cure the body. In fact, when we talk about conventional medicine, everybody thinks that conventional medicine is allopathic medicine, modern medicine, which is actually a misnomer. Conventional medicine is really medicine prior to, the 1900s, allopathic medicine. It's natural stuff. That's actually conventional. And it would behoove many of us to get back to that. I can go on with, my own personal stories about how natural substances have actually saved lives. I can tell you my ex-wife is alive today. She was going to die from a stroke, not a stroke, but a tumor, brain tumor. It could not be removed, could not be reduced. It would continue to grow. They had removed part of it, could remove all of it. And within 9 months after being on natural supplements that I put her on, She was completely, after almost 20 years, I guess the term is completely recovered, right? She had no trace of the tumor. In fact, the neurologist and the doctors at the hospital asked me to write a list of the things that she was taking so that they can examine it and see what is the application for that in their practice. So I'm a huge proponent of that. Next slide. I don't even know where I'm at right now. So I'm just going to go for it. Okay, mindset. So the question posed to me earlier was between optimal and peak performance, right? And I don't believe we can operate at peak performance all the time. It's like driving the car, redlining the RPM and think it's just going to keep going before the motor blows up. We have to run at a range that's going to be efficient for us, where we can get maximum performance with minimal wear and tear on the body and the mind. And so I look at an optimal mindset as that. We want to operate at a higher level, but not so high that we get burned out. And it's very easy to do, especially with people that are in professions where they have to use their mind a lot. Like, for example, a medical doctor, attorneys, people, scientists, they're always thinking and analyzing all day long. And they take it home with them. They're thinking about it all day, all night long, and they're sleeping with this on their mind. You've got to give the brain a break a little bit. And so, you've got to figure out where's that sweet spot, And so, I preach this quite a bit when I talk about optimal performance. It's not just about not working harder, but working smarter, and also learning to enjoy life. In fact, the Balinese guy I spoke to yesterday, he kept looking at me. He goes, "I can see your aura." He goes, I can sense a few things, but he goes, one of the things I'm sensing is that you're just not enjoying life enough. And I disagreed with him. I felt like I was, but I had to be honest with myself. I thought about it. I was like, no, I've been working since, 8 a.m. this morning, and it's it's 3 a.m. the next morning, and I'm still working, right? And I'll go home, sleep for about 5 hours, and I'll be back in here. So he's right in that sense. My brain is always moving, and even I have to sometimes stop myself and smell the flowers, so to speak. In order to be successful, right? Whether it's your body recuperating and recovering, or whether it's you're trying to recover, your life from a failed profession, a failed marriage, or whatever it may be, you have to commit to change, and that's where most people fail. They fail to commit. But it's not just committing; it's also imagining the end state, right? Emil Kuh, he was really the founder of autogenic conditioning, which I'm a big proponent of. And he said that when imagination and willpower are in conflict, imagination always wins. When imagination and willpower are in conflict, imagination always wins. And what he meant by that was this. If you, for example, on New Year's Eve, you're having a good time, you're like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year, watch this, and you're all excited. You're going to, on New Year's Eve, you're committed to losing 50 pounds. And about 2 weeks later, you're back to eating pizzas and Twinkies. You're like, screw it. I'll do it next year, right? You lost your willpower. It wasn't the bottom of a bottle that night. But with time, the next 2 weeks, you get dream killers that get in the way. Dream killers are things like, family, spouses, kids, finances, sickness, employers, laws, everything. These are minefields that people lay in front of you to keep you from reaching your goals. And the only way you're going to reach that goal, it's not through willpower. I don't care how much willpower you have. If you can't imagine the end state, you can't feel it, embrace it in the here and now, you'll never reach that objective. And it's the same thing with your fitness. In fact, right before this program, I have a client that was getting ready to sign for my coaching program. He's getting ready to have hip replacement therapy. And he said, should I wait till after I get my hip replaced to start this program? And I thought, well, why would you wait? Let's get ahead of it now. Let's get the right mindset to get you through this surgery a lot faster and recover faster, because it is all about mindset. Even recovery is about mindset. As I mentioned earlier, in the program, I've had quite a few injuries. I had L2, L3 compression fracture. I spent 5 months in body cast from a helicopter crash in Panama. I've got fragmentation wounds in my legs. I've got torn meniscus, torn ACL. I can go on all day long with my injuries, and not one of them in the slightest bit inhibits me at all. And why is that? Again, because I refuse to let it slow me down. I know where I want to be in life. I want to be in a better place. I want to be healthy. I want to live to be 100 years old. I tell myself that every day. I'm going to be 100 years old. And I act like I'm going to be 100 years old. Even though I'm 57, I feel like I will be 100 years old, because I'm not going to let pain, I'm not going to let all these things stop me and slow me down. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add, those supplements to my body. Anything that's going to make me better, I'm going to add it. I wanted to talk real quick about, there's a lot of discussion on here about, professional athletes, professional football players, and a pretty good analogy was it's a collision sport. I agree. I used to play I used to be a fullback. Yeah. Even when I was I was a fullback. So I know what it's like to run right into somebody full speed, and it hurts. But I've got a lot of friends that are veterans, and many of them have a lot of issues, not only TBI. I can tell you that working around explosives, I handled explosives for 35 years. I've had explosives go off within a couple feet of my body. I've had heavy weapons go off very close to me. In fact, some of the weapon systems that the military has, you're only allowed to fire them 3 times in a lifetime. Anything more than that would be too detrimental to your body. I remember one of those particular systems, I was running it one day and fired over 25 rounds out of it. It was called an SPG-7. And I can tell you, when I went home that night, I thought I was going to die. I felt like my entire inside of my body was going to fall out. And so the impact that, it's not just impact, like physical impact can affect you, but it's actually, shock waves. I'm not even sure what the term's called, but when you deaccelerate quickly and automatically, like in a car accident or something like that, all those things have a profound effect on your body, on your organs, and on your brain. But I can tell you honestly that I've got a lot of friends that swear by the use of marijuana as for medicinal purposes, and it seems to be alleviating a lot of their issues. I do know what it's like to have TBI. I was diagnosed with severe TBI. I didn't know it, but I was, and I ended up waking up one morning on Queer Street. Literally, I woke up and I was walking in right-hand turns and right-hand circles with my head laying on my shoulder, and I thought I just had a bad weekend drinking too much. And it wasn't until my nanny called my wife and said, "Hey, Dale ain't right," and they took me to the emergency room, and that's when I got the diagnosis that I had suffered a stroke. So my neurologist, again, he tied it to blast overpressure. So again, there's a lot of hope for that. Another thing that I think is interesting for TBI and a lot of different ailments that people go through is the hyperbaric chambers. I've got a lot of friends that have done rides on hyperbaric chambers and come out of those much better off. I've seen people with stage 4 cancer walk out of those and walk away cured. Guys with head injuries come out, and basically turn their whole lives around. So, I also think there's a lot of utility here, a lot of application for veterans in the use of, these alternative medicines. And that's how I see marijuana. When I was in the Army trained me to be a drug and alcohol coordinator, right? And my job wasn't to issue out drugs and alcohol to everybody and coordinate the party. My job was to do all the testing. So, every now and then my job was to go out and get the unit together, take them in the bathroom and make them pee in a cup. And then I would have to do all the taping and marking and go test them for drugs and stuff, And I was always inculcated into a mindset that, marijuana is a drug and it's bad. And it wasn't until about probably 8 or 9 years ago, I had an epiphany and woke up one day and I thought, what the hell's wrong with marijuana, compared to cigarettes and alcohol? And it was when I realized then, it's a herb, it's something natural. And so, I had to change my whole, I had to shift the whole paradigm, that was ingrained into me from the media, from the government, from the military. Even my father told me how bad marijuana was, and he didn't even smoke marijuana. And so it required a paradigm shift. So there's been a lot of conversation about, laws and, and the acceptance of, marijuana, CBD oils and things like that in America. It really is going to be, I believe it's going to be a job in re-educating everybody. That's what it's going to come down to, is re-educating everyone, because most people just don't understand it. They bought into the propaganda like everything else that's going on today. You know, it's mostly propaganda. Most people are not willing to do the critical analysis and think for themselves. They're just willing to take everything at face value. If the media says it, it must be true. My friend said it, it must be true. So they go along with the program, right? And it's a shame because I think all of you probably believe, as I do, there are a lot of cures out there for a lot of things. You know, HIV, cancers that are being hidden or being kept away from us, all in the name of of making money, of capitalism, pharmacy companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, a lot of people have to suffer, and probably a lot of people are dying needlessly because of the greed of other people. And I am a capitalist, but I also have a moral side to me, and and I really despise that when people put money over people's lives. I don't even know where I'm at as far as time. Denise, where am I at here? I'm just talking away. Can you hear me?
I'm actually here, Dale. I can hear you.
Out there.
Hey. Okay. Yeah, you are. You are overtime already.
Oh, sorry.
I know you're such a wealth of information and stuff. However, you're welcome to please stay on, because we'd love to have you continue. We've got a few more guests. We've got celebrity chef Melissa, who is ready to go. So I'm like dying and waiting for like food to eat. She's like, ugh. So we've got some food coming up. We've got a couple of other great presentations that will be ongoing as well, and we'd love to have you as part of the Q&A. If there's anybody that really has an immediate question, go ahead and throw that on up in the chat room. Otherwise, we are ready to begin moving over to Chef Melissa and get her up and live as well. So I don't know if Denise, are you there yet? I know she's taking over a lot of different.
I am here.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to go make sure the camera is set up for Melissa, and we'll get moving on there. Thank you, Dale, so much for sharing that beautiful story. It makes my heart just well up.
Just in time. My wife's calling me. Well, where are you at?
Thank
3:00 in the morning, right?
Thank you.
All good.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. While we're segueing, maybe we have time for one question. Tasha, can you toss a question over to Mr. Dale Comstock?
Sure. Hey, Dale. How are you? You're still on mute, though.
How about now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Very nice to meet you. And, I love your story about the crystals. I just wanted to share with you that I am a firm believer that the crystals choose you. And someone gifted me this product of crystal-infused essential oil. So this is a thing I had never heard of before, and someone gifted that to me, and I was just like, that's amazing. How did I not know about this before? So just really quick, one question. Let me see. You have a couple here. Let me see if I can choose. Let me ask you this one. How does physical performance frequency differ from mental performance frequency and their related outcomes?
Great question. So let's talk about physical. And I like to use the term autogenic conditioning, right? So autogenic conditioning is this. Our whole body, it operates based on the power we generate from within, right? Electromagnetic energy. So our muscles contract because of energy. We think because of energy. Everything we do is because of energy we create from within. And we can literally enhance our performance overnight if we can focus on whatever it is that we're trying to improve. For example, in the military, oftentimes I would get a no-notice no notification that tomorrow morning I'm going to have to do a physical fitness test, right? And of course, I've always trained for it, but a lot of times the Army, when I was in the unit, we would spend 3 weeks in the jungle, come back, and they go, hey, tomorrow you're going to do a physical fitness test. And so, being a Delta operator, it was not good enough just to pass the test. We had to maximize the test every time in our minds, right? It's the kind of guys we were. So knowing that I spent 3 weeks in the jungle, I might not be in top shape. What I would do every night is visualize myself doing the physical fitness test, right? Doing the push-ups, doing the sit-ups, and doing the 2-mile run at a certain time. And I would go over that in my mind over and over and over to the point where while I was laying in bed, I'd start sweating and my heart rate would go up. And I would run that PT test in my bed for 4 or 5 times, iterations, right? But I wouldn't move, but I was in there doing it. And then the next day, for sure, I would max that PT test and then some. And I've got 1,000 stories like that where I literally went from 0 to hero overnight because of that concept. And the reason why is because every time we think of an act, our brain is sending electromagnetic pulses down our nervous system through the spine and down the neural pathways. It's called spinal tuning. And every time it does that through a process of myelination, those nerves get thicker and thicker, allow the nerve, that afferent signal to move faster and more efficiently, right? So basically, it's like once we learn how to swim or ride a bike, we never forget, right? And the more we practice, the better we get at it. And then, so that's the physical part, right? And then the next part is, well, how do I create my reality? Like, for example, if I want to be a business owner, like me, for example, I want to be a business owner in Indonesia and Bali, right? Where do I go? How do I start? Well, it goes back to imagination. You have to imagine yourself having a business wherever, right, in Bali. And I have to actually see yourself doing it. You have to feel it and experience it like it's really going to happen. And you say it and do it in the here and now. Okay, they're positive affirmations. If you want to be a millionaire, you don't tell yourself, I'm going to be a millionaire. You say, I am a millionaire, right? And why do you say that? Because your conscious is going, hey, Comstock, you're lying. You're not a millionaire. But my subconscious, the one that's really controlling everything, it's a little guy in a room back there with no windows and a computer. He's going, geez, this guy thinks he's a computer. We gotta do something to make him rich. And so if we don't, he's going to commit suicide. So when we think positively in the here and now, we create our reality. And it has to do with the laws of attraction. It has to do with emitting energy. And I'll give you an example, real quick example, and I'll shut up because I get long-winded. So I'm speaking to you right now. I'm generating thoughts through power. All right, those thoughts are being basically sent through my vocal cords to you, right? Through what? Through frequency, wavelength, and frequency, right? Those are radio frequency, not tones, but frequency. You're picking up the frequencies with your parabolics, your antennas. You're picking them up, you're intercepting them, and you analyze them, and you're creating images in your mind. And we're going back and forth, and what are we doing? We're communicating. And what's really cool is we're doing this through computers right now. So we actually have relay systems that are taking our frequencies, all right, and continue to basically to push them out further, right, to expand them. So everything in this planet is energy. We're seeing the world right now through color. Color is part of what? The electromagnetic spectrum. It's frequency. Light is frequency. All right, we're analyzing frequency. We smell frequency. We feel frequency. Everything is energy. So if we understand that, we can really change our performance overnight, and we can also change our future. If we think positively, and as I said earlier, if we imagine the outcome, we feel it and we dream it in the here and now, we really want it, forget willpower. It's all about imagination. Ask Albert Einstein.
Thank you so much. And then are you, since you're a naturopath doctor, I'm sure that there are going to be maybe some more questions at the end. Are you going to stick around for the Q&A that's going to happen too? Okay, great. Thank you.
Happy to hear.
And then with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica and Denise.